Okay. All right, so we're going to record this for our students who can't make it. So what we're going to do on at 11, most Tuesdays at 11, in case something comes up, we will join online at 11 to answer any questions and to discuss what we have been accomplishing throughout the week. And just a message to those students who are not able, I know you're working and stuff like that during the week at 11. And if you can't make it, to my students who cannot make it, you got to make sure that you're watching this video and making sure that you are following up on the reading. So the video, my video lectures will help you a lot as well. So let me share my screen and we're going to go to week 2. So I want to say thank you to everyone for doing that introduction form in week 1, and that we had 100% of the students do it within the first couple of days, and that was great. And I was able to get your attendance into the registrar office ASAP so that they knew that everyone was in class. You know, even we're not physically, but you know, everyone logged in and everyone is legit. Just a couple of housekeeping things. Everybody remember that your syllabus is right here, found right here at the top tab of your class. And if you need it, you can always click on that, download it, and save it to your computer so that you can have it. Just a little overview, just reminding you all that your class meeting links will be located on the left-hand side of your page, and your modules will be broken down by week. So I try to make sure, oh, look at that, I got a typo right there. I try to make sure that I break them out by week. So this is week of the 11th. Look at that, I messed it up, so I'll change that. This is week of the 11th. And next week is the week of the 18th. I'm moving ahead of myself. So I will correct that. Actually, let me do it now so I'm not forgetting. This week is the week of the 11th, not the 18th. Let's change that right now. Sorry about that. As you're moving so fast to get it set up, you don't see your mistakes. All right, everybody. So we are, let me refresh my page. We are in week 2, and make sure that you go and look at each module week by week. And I just want to explain a couple of things just in case you're lost. So at the top of week 2, you see your week 2 discussion. Okay, it says discussion intro to the OT. OT is Old Testament. And let's look at your discussion question. So your discussion question is going to come from your book on page 53, chapter 1. And your question that you're going to answer is, why is a knowledge of geography important to the study of the Old Testament? And you'll see I abbreviate things. So when you see OT, that's Old Testament. And so for your weekly discussion form, make sure that you answer the question by using your textbook. There are no quizzes in the class, but we do have a final exam. But you want to make sure that these are your quizzes. So you want to make sure that you're doing your discussion questions, and I'll pull information from those discussion questions. Those discussion questions are like your weekly quizzes. Make sure that when you answer your discussion question, it's one full paragraph at least. You could go longer. At least 6 to 7 sentences. And you want to make sure that you're watching for any errors or, you know, spelling or grammar errors. Okay. So your discussion question for this week, week 2, is why is a knowledge of geography important to the study of the Old Testament? And we're going to talk a little bit about that today. Let's go back to the week 2 tab. And I want to show you something real quick. If we go back to the week 2 tab, I know some people are still looking for the book. And you'll see some supplemental information that I put here. Here's a PowerPoint for chapter 1. Here's a PowerPoint for chapter 2. We're going to talk about those today. But these little pages right here, see where it says chapter 1, page 21, chapter 1, page 22. I tried to scan a couple of pages for students that don't have the book yet. And I'm already going to apologize to you. I don't have the best scanner at home. It's a little temperamental. And or really I might be the problem itself. But I tried to do the best I could with getting you as clear a copy as I could of a few pages, 21 through 25, and I got a few pages from chapter 2. Okay, so I apologize if they don't look real crisp, clear. I tried to get them as good as I could on the scanner. All right, and that will be your overview for week 2. So let's talk a little bit about chapter 1 and chapter 2, if you don't mind. Give me 1 second and I'm going to pull up this lesson. Let's see if I can pull it up here. Okay. Gloria, are you able to see my PowerPoint that says welcome to Old Testament? Oh, I think you're on mute.
Sorry. Sometimes there's a delay, so let's see. Let's try it again.
It's a delay. Okay, I'm going to share it. I'm having a little issue. Let me try that again. I apologize. I shared it and then took it back off. Here we go.
Okay. Yeah. Excellent.
Super. Okay. Now, if you're watching this at home, you can watch this PowerPoint later at home, and it has me talking on it. But today, I'll just kind of talk over it, talk over my narrations. Oh, just a couple of things real quick. I'm so glad that you're in this course. Make sure that you have your textbook and that you have access to a Bible. Online, if you don't have a physical Bible, that's fine. You can always access the Bible on your phone, on an app. Bible Gateway is very good. Bible Gateway you can also get on, as well as, you know, if you have a paper Bible. Just a couple of things I want to highlight in chapter 1 before I get to chapter 2. So I'm going to do a compressed version today. All right. So the whole introduction here to the Old Testament. So I want to say a few things here about the Christian Bible. So the Bible itself comes in 2 parts, right? So there's an Old Testament part, and then there's a New Testament. So there are 2 parts to the Christian Bible. And the purpose of this particular course is to study of the Bible and the different books and how they were put together and how they unfold. The key thing that's going to be really interesting in the Old Testament, as it reads like a book, as it reads like a narrative, as it reads like a story, the whole objective to Old Testament writing is that the people come to know the Creator God better. God reveals God's self to the people, and they're trying to figure out who is this God and what do we believe, and how to fit God into their daily lives. The key people that we talk about in the Old Testament are Jewish people, and so or Jewish or Hebrew. These are the individuals that we may also hear referred to as the people of Israel. Okay, so that's the group of people that are very active in the Old Testament. And so there's a plan. We see in the Old Testament, there's a plan that God reveals from beginning to end. And we're going to talk about the Old Testament, but there are just so many different plans that God has. And if you see on page 23 later on, there are stages of God's presence, and presence means like showing up. You know, if you say, well, my mom or my dad wasn't present in my life or something like that, that means they weren't there or they didn't show up. But when we say presence here, the Creator God's presence, that we mean like, how did the Creator God show up and move around and talk to people in these books in the Old Testament? And so there are a few different ways that we see God's presence. In Genesis, we see God in the Garden of Eden. We see God's presence in an issue of covenant. Anybody know what covenant means? Ever heard that word before? You want to unmute, Gloria?
I'm thinking that simply means a promise.
There you go. Excellent. Covenant is a promise. And we will see unfold in the Old Testament how the Creator God makes promises, covenants with people, with different groups of people and individuals. And all of these promises are guaranteed, right? And don't expire. We see God's presence of Israel in the Exodus. And so we're going to talk later about the book of Exodus. The people of Israel been through so much stuff. And we will see some of the things that they've been through. And so let me speed up a little bit. We see the presence in the tabernacle, which is a physical place of worship that the Jewish people went to. We see the presence of God in the incarnation later in the New Testament in what we call Emmanuel, and that's Jesus. Also in Pentecost, that happens later on in the New Testament in the book of Acts. And later in Revelation, in the book of Revelation, as we talk about new creation or new earth. So I won't be able to go through every slide. I want you guys to go through those on your own, but I do want to talk about a few real key things. Let's talk about this word authority. Authority. When you hear that word authority, what do you usually think of? Authority. Like somebody's in charge or something, you know, authority. So now when you read the Old Testament, you know, whether you ascribe to Christianity or you're reading it for this course, when you read the Old Testament, I want you to read it asking yourself, who has the authority? And what we mean by that is, who was the author? Who was the author? Who wrote this? And why did they read it? So I have a question over here in the middle of the page. How do I read the Old Testament? How do I read the OT? Even if you're not a Christian, I want you to read it for its storyline. The Old Testament has so many important people. Oh my goodness, so many important places, dates, and events that are still important to history today. There are places in the Old Testament that still exist today. They might have different names, but groups of people that gave birth to other people and other people and other groups that are still around today. So that's how I want you to read the Old Testament and think about who wrote it. So as we continue to go through this course, think about the people that are behind the words. Okay. Here are just a couple of things I want to highlight for you. Many people, when they come to a scripture, are very confused, myself included. You can just be very confused about what it's saying. And so my suggestion to you going forward is to not always assume that you know exactly what the scripture is saying. Remember in that slide before us, we talked about authority or the author. And so we always have to ask ourselves, what is the author saying here? Because sometimes we don't really know. So I gave you a little help. So don't assume that you always know what it's saying. First thing, what do? Read that scripture, read that passage several times to yourself. Because the first time, the second time, the third time, it's like, huh? And then maybe a few more times it gets more clear. Ask yourself what type of literature you're reading. Now, let me see, my Bible's up here. But many of the books in your Old Testament are going to come under different genres. So some of your books are historical. Books like First and Second Chronicles. Those are historical books. They tell stories. Judges tell stories. It's just historical. It gives a lot of history. Okay, and then you're going to ask yourself, who wrote the book? Who wrote the book? Okay, who wrote the book? Who is the author? And then you're going to ask yourself, why did the author write it? Why? Okay, why? Okay. And I want to, if you guys stay right there, I'm going to stop this slide, and now I want to get into the meat. Hey there, April. Hello, Lester. I want to get into the meat of it. If you just give me 1 second, and I'm going to change my slide, and we're going to talk about geography. So hold 1 second. I'm going to come right back to you all. Okay. I hope you all are doing well. Okay, so we're going to talk about geography. And as I'm pulling up our next slide, I want somebody, make sure I get this up on the screen, okay? All right, I want somebody to tell me when you can see my slide on the screen. Okay, can anybody see my slide on the screen now?
Yes. Yes.
All right, great. Now we're going to talk about chapter 2, which is geography of the Old Testament, geography. Now, let's just freeze real quick. What does geography mean? Somebody want to answer that? What do you think geography means?
Yes.
The physical landscape of an area.
Awesome. Good morning, Mr. Goff. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing all right. Yeah.
Great. Good to see you. The landscape of an area. The physical, where they are. So the actual land, the mountains, the water is so important to the Old Testament. Remember, when you see OT, just think about Old Testament, okay? And so when you think about even where you live, wherever you live, well, we're in Georgia, you know, per se, the state, but even different parts of Georgia have different types of geography. You know, if you go over to Savannah, you know, that's different geography. If you go to North Georgia in the mountains, that's different geography. It could be snowing up in and a heat wave down in Albany, all because of the geography. And so geography, the location is real important. Okay, the Old Testament is primarily about a specific group of people. Who's that group of people? Those are the Jewish people. They're also called the Israelites, okay, or Israel. And where they lived, the location where they move around is really important. Okay, so like, where are they? Where are they located? And when you read in the Old Testament scriptures, from, you know, even from beginning of Genesis, location is key, because we're not talking about the United States or anywhere close. We're talking about the Middle East. And it's really important if you get a chance, if you go to your computer, if you get a chance to just look at a map, where is the Middle East? And even as we talk now in 2021, this Middle Eastern area is still a active area. It is still an area of conflict. It's busy, even still today. So this particular area where we pick up the Old Testament the scriptures, it would be like Mesopotamia. It would be that area, Egypt, moving towards Egypt. You see over here on the left-hand side of my screen, Arabia. And so if you see right here in this area, well, I'm using my finger to point, okay? We're talking right in this area. Mediterranean area, Nile River. And somebody tell me this right here. Okay, y'all can use your microphones. So we've got Egypt, we've got the Nile. What would you consider this? Is this Asia or Africa?
It's Africa. It's
I
Africa.
consider Africa, but a decision was made to move Egypt into the middle, put it as the Middle East. So it's both, depending on who you are.
Oh, I got you. It's both, depending on who you are. But right, so as we study, here's the key thing, scholars. So as we study, remember Egypt, Egyptians, and even if we go back to our maps, right, falls on the continent of Africa. And Africa is very much part of the Old Testament. And that's some of the things that, even when we study our books in the Old Testament, I think sometimes we're really focused on the Middle East and we forget Africa. All right, geography is really important because what grows on the land? Now, remember, these folks weren't like us, and they couldn't go to the Kroger, and they couldn't go to the Publix and get their groceries. They were very much dependent on the land. And so if you look at the picture on the right-hand side, is this beautiful or what? This is a picture of the Fertile Crescent that you saw on the map before. It's just beautiful green. Look at, you have slight hills and valleys. Hills and valleys we hear a lot of in the Bible, especially Old Testament. And so the Nile River went through Africa. It really provided them with water. It provided them with a sense of direction. So pay attention to when you're reading in the Old Testament, pay attention to where these people are. Many times, like David would hide in caves close to mountains, mountainous areas. Many times in Old Testament, they would talk about things being dry in a barren land. That means they're really dependent on land, and sometimes the lands that were in did not produce like they wanted them to produce. Okay, so look, all right, so think about it. If these folks in the Old Testament couldn't depend on grocery stores and stuff like that, and in their particular land or geography wasn't producing fruit, wasn't producing crops, what do you think they had to do?
They went looking for fertile land, and many of the wars, even today, are fought over land and water rights and things like that.
That's right. That's right. So, and I heard Gloria said, yeah, and then there were there were conflicts. So when their area was barren, their area wasn't producing food. People do. They pick up and they move. And they will move in a lot of the places where you see folks move in the Old Testament. They're moving along water. Okay. They're moving along water because water is going to be a source to drink, to wash, to also take care of your crops. All right. So let's look at Egypt, Egypt. So we were talking about Egypt earlier. Egypt is in Africa. And did you know it's also called the gift of the Nile? The gift of the Nile. And so it's important that we recognize that there is an African presence in the Old Testament, even going back to the book of Genesis. And so the Nile River, Egypt is mentioned, Cush is also mentioned in the Old Testament. So we want to remember that these places are found on the continent of Africa. Let's talk about Palestine real quick. And Palestine is a really important place to us, especially in Old Testament, Old and New Testament. But there's something interesting that I want you to see here. So Palestine was named after a group of people called the Philistines. And this land is also called Canaan. Canaan. And this was a gifted land that the Creator God was giving to God's people. And it's really interesting. My subdivision started. And I said, oh, wow, you know, when we were looking at the house, it started with Canaan. So many of the places, even that we see around today, have a lot of biblical references to them, Old Testament references. So let's talk about this place, Palestine. So remember, geography is important. The land is important. So Palestine was kind of divided into 4 regions. Kind of like Georgia, you know, we have like a coastal region, we have mountainous regions, we got a lot of regions here in Georgia, a lot of different geography. So same thing in Palestine, you had coastal areas, you had hilly areas, you had what's called the Transjordan Plateau, which was kind of like a hilly area. Okay, and so there were different places that people found more productive than others. Hence, that's why you see them moving around. Okay, so that's the key thing that I want to highlight for you today as you start to work on your reading and your discussion question. Geography is really important. Where the people are, where they live, where they're moving to. So you'll see a lot of characters in the Old Testament will move from one place to another place. Sometimes it's because that something is not productive in one area. Sometimes it's because God is moving the character from one place to another because it's going to be something more more advantageous in that other land. Okay. I just want you to see a few beautiful pictures. Beautiful pictures. This is the picture of the Jordan River. And the Jordan River is going to be mentioned in the Old Testament and the New Testament. And it's located in Palestine off of this Jordan Rift. Okay, and if you see, look at right here in the distance. You see right there in the distance? This is Mount Hermon. And Mount Hermon is mentioned, this is a mountain. Mount Hermon is mentioned, I believe, also in the book of Psalms. And you will hear a lot of locations mentioned in scripture. And so that's sometimes the difficult part for us reading in 2021, you know, here in a different place, a different continent, and we're like, where are these places located? Okay. Remember, trade is important to geography. Trade is really important to geography. So when we're dealing with trade, so what do we mean by trade? What's trade?
Means buying and selling of goods.
Correct. And so I put there, you know, there was no Amazon to order things, right? If they wanted to trade their goods with someone, so if you had barley and somebody else had wheat and we wanted to trade, I had to maybe go down to the next town or the next city to where you are. And the thing about geography is very important because they conducted their commerce or their trading by walking. Of course, they didn't have no cars or trains or buses. They would walk along these trade routes. And those trade routes had to be favorable in order for them to continue to move about. Palestine was a prime location of trade because it was right there in the middle of Africa and Asia. So it was like a good middle place for people to move around. So when you see land in the Old Testament, I think Gloria mentioned this earlier. The key thing about land, I heard somebody say this. My old pastor said this. He said that God is not creating no new land, so buy some land, right? Well, one of the things about land is that once people see that something is it's lucrative, advantageous over here, or they feel like it's theirs, they will fight over it, right? And you'll see that throughout the Old Testament in the stories that you read, you're going to see that a lot of people fight over control of the land, of the physical land, because they think like, oh, this is mine, or God said that this is ours, this is this group of people's, you're over here and you got to get out. Okay. So trade and commerce as you would establish like a really wealthy group of people. So as the centuries started to progress in the Old Testament, the people that could trade started to get rich, right? And then the rich people would start to oppress the poor people. Sounds real familiar now, right? And so this opportunity to be able to move up and down the trade routes mean that you had goods and mean that you were a little bit more comfortable, so to speak, than the people who could not move around. Okay, I want to show you a little bit more. I just believe these pictures don't even do it justice, but these pictures are just so gorgeous. When we talked about Palestine, also known as Canaan, look at that. Beautiful hill country. Look at the rolling hills. You will hear a lot of words in Old Testament scripture referring to hills and valleys and plains. Okay. And so this is Canaan, the land of Canaan or Palestine. It was a land that God had was going to gave, I can't talk, to the Israelite people. And these Israelite people are also in the Old Testament called the Hebrew people. Okay, so they're under Jewish culture. Okay, Jewish culture. And something else I want to tell you that's really important about land or geography is that they had to treat their land right. And if they didn't treat the land right, it wouldn't produce right. And there were also repercussions from the Creator God as well. Okay. So let me just pause real quick. I want to bring something up for you. While I'm switching my screen, is there any questions we have real quick? Okay. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm going to switch my screen real quick. Remember, geography is important because it lets you know where these people are located. Okay. All right, here we go. Now, I'm going to come right back to you and I want to show you a little bit of geography in scripture. I'm coming back to you and somebody let me know when you can see my screen. And I'm going to show you a scripture on the screen. Okay, somebody give me a thumbs up or let me know if you can see Deuteronomy 3 and 8 on the screen.
Yes.
Super, all right. I just want to show you an example. Let me make this a little bit bigger. Uh-oh. Okay, maybe that's bigger. I just want to show you an example of location. Deuteronomy is an Old Testament book. This is 3rd chapter, the 8th verse. And I want to show you just a few examples. Remember earlier in our PowerPoint, we talked about Mount Hermon, mountain. Look at this. So at that time, we took from these 2 kings of the Amorites. So always pay attention to people, group of people, the territory. Look at this, east of the Jordan, from the Arnon Gorge as far as Mount Hermon. So many times when we're reading stuff all the way over here in the United States, we're like, where are these places? Where are they located? One of the other things is that I want you to see, remember what we just talked about in the last slide on chapter 2? We said that people move around on geography because sometimes of military conquests and conflicts. So we have a conflict here. Look, so at that time we took from these 2 kings of the Amorites the territory east of the Jordan. These kings didn't willingly hand it over. So we have in this example, reading a conflict. There's an issue going on. Give me this particular land from this group of people. Territory east of the Jordan. Remember we talked about the Jordan River on our slide, and we talked about Mount Hermon, that beautiful, beautiful mountain. Let me see if I have another one on here. I had a couple more examples for you with Mount Hermon. Let me see if I can find another one. Here's another example. I just want to show you this real quick as you all are reading. Pay attention to people and where they're going. From Mount Halak, which rises towards Seir, to Baal Gad in the valley of Lebanon. Remember we talked about, so you're going to hear a lot of words like valleys, hills, mountains. That was their region. That was the type of geography that they were accustomed to. And so with mountains, right? Anybody been to the mountains? With mountains comes a different type of, what's the word? Weather, snow and things like that, or maybe cooler temperatures. But geography is going to really play a strong part in where they are. As we get into, let me hit stop on my share. And I'm going to come back to you all. Any questions, comments? Guys, all right? Okay. As we get even into the book of Genesis, you will see more in terms of where these first individuals are placed. So as you begin to chapter 2, pay attention to location and then birth to the emphasis of locations today. And so even as we talked about, yes, we're in 2021, the Middle East, even today, you see how President Biden brought back the soldiers from that Afghanistan region, and those areas in the Middle East have just been, oh boy, of despair for centuries and years and years, and I don't know if it'll get any better, but that really gives us a basis to study from. So I want to pause in this lecture. Any questions, comments? It's so good to see your faces. All right, okay. All right. Well, all right. This week is week 2, so make sure you go to your week 2 tab, your week 2 module, and you're going to check out your discussion question, which is due on Sunday night. So just a reminder that we get started on Mondays. Our week starts on Mondays And so we started on Monday, what was yesterday? The 11th. And your work will be due on Sunday nights, all Sunday night work. And so for this week, it will be due on Sunday, the 17th, October the flying away. Okay. All right. All right. How you doing, April, Lester, Gloria? You all right?
Yes, I'm doing good.
Super.
Yeah, I'm doing fine.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. It's good to see your faces.
You
I
too.
will see. All right. I will see you same time, same place next Tuesday. And for those students who were not able to join, I'm going to record this and post this in your announcement section. So I look forward to reading your discussion post about geography this week.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Goodbye.
All right.
Bye-bye.